In the harsh winter of 1942, when the fate of nations hung in the balance and every bullet counted, a young woman stood before a panel of military officers who would change the course of her life with a single, devastating decision. Her name was Elena Volkov, and she had just completed the most rigorous sniper training program in the Soviet military, with scores that should have guaranteed her the coveted sniper badge. Instead, she found herself facing a room full of skeptical faces, men who believed that precision killing was no job for a woman, no matter how steady her hands or sharp her eyes. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Elena's journey to that moment had begun 6 months earlier in the bombed-out ruins of Stalingrad, where she worked as a factory mechanic before the war consumed everything in its path. Born in 1921 in a small village outside Moscow, she had grown up with her grandfather's hunting rifle, spending countless hours in the forests learning to read wind patterns, judge distances, and most importantly, to remain perfectly still for hours at a time. Her grandfather, a veteran of the Great War, had recognized something special in his granddaughter, a natural ability that couldn't be taught, only refined. When the German army began its relentless push toward the heart of the Soviet Union, Elena's world crumbled around her. Her factory was destroyed in an air raid that claimed the lives of 17 of her coworkers, including her closest friend, Katya. As she pulled survivors from the wreckage, Elena made a promise that would define the rest of her war. She would make the fascists pay for every life they had stolen, every home they had destroyed, every dream they had shattered. The Soviet military, desperate for skilled marksmen as casualties mounted, had recently opened sniper schools to women. Elena was among the first to volunteer, driven by a burning desire for vengeance that had replaced the gentle girl who once fed stray cats behind her apartment building. The training was brutal, designed to break the weak and forge the survivors into instruments of precision death. For 12 weeks, Elena endured physical conditioning that left her muscles screaming, technical instruction that filled her mind with calculations of wind drift and bullet drop, and psychological preparation that hardened her heart against the humanity of her future targets. During those grueling months of training, Elena consistently outperformed her male counterparts. While others struggled with the complex mathematics of long-range shooting, Elena intuitively understood the delicate relationship between environmental factors and ballistic trajectories. Her instructors marveled at her ability to remain motionless for hours, breathing controlled, heartbeat steady, waiting for the perfect moment to squeeze the trigger. In live fire exercises, her accuracy was phenomenal, consistently placing shots within millimeters of their intended targets at distances that challenged even experienced snipers. But excellence in training meant nothing to the review board that would determine her final assignment. As Elena stood at attention before the panel of officers, she could feel their doubt radiating across the room like heat from a furnace. Colonel Dmitry Kozlov, the board's chairman, shuffled through her file with barely concealed skepticism. Her scores were undeniable, the highest in her class, better than any recruit they had seen in months. Yet something about awarding a sniper badge to a 21-year-old woman seemed to stick in their collective throat. "Comrade Volkov," Colonel Kozlov began, his voice carrying the weight of authority and prejudice, "your training scores are impressive. However, we have concerns about placing you in a frontline sniper role." He paused, allowing his words to sink in like stones dropped into still water. Combat is unpredictable. The psychological pressure of taking human life at close range, the physical demands of operating alone behind enemy lines. These are challenges that require a particular kind of temperament. Elena felt her jaw clench, but she maintained her military bearing. She had expected this moment, had prepared for it during countless sleepless nights when doubt crept into her mind like a thief. But she had also prepared her response, a carefully crafted argument that acknowledged their concerns while emphasizing her qualifications. With respect, Comrade Colonel, my scores demonstrate my technical proficiency. My psychological evaluations show exceptional stress tolerance. I volunteer for this role not from naivete, but from understanding exactly what it entails. The colonel's expression softened slightly, but his resolve remained firm. Your dedication is admirable, comrade. However, we have decided to assign you to a reconnaissance unit, where your marksmanship skills can be utilized in a more appropriate capacity. The words hung in the air like smoke from a battlefield, acrid and final. Elena's sniper badge, the symbol she had worked so hard to earn, would not be pinned to her uniform that day. As the other successful candidates filed out of the room, their new sniper badges gleaming on their chests, Elena remained standing at attention. Inside, her heart raged against the injustice, but her face betrayed nothing. She had been trained to be a sniper, to be patient, to wait for the perfect moment. This was not defeat. This was simply a tactical delay.
The reconnaissance unit to which Elena was assigned operated along the volatile front lines near Kursk, where German and Soviet forces engaged in a deadly game of advance and retreat that claimed thousands of lives daily. Her new commander, Major Alexei Petrov, was a grizzled veteran who had fought in the Winter War against Finland and understood the brutal realities of modern warfare. Unlike the review board, Petrov was less concerned with gender politics and more interested in keeping his men alive through superior intelligence gathering. Elena's official role was as a spotter and intelligence analyst, tasked with observing enemy positions and reporting troop movements. She was issued standard reconnaissance equipment, powerful binoculars, detailed maps, communication gear, and a standard-issue Mosin-Nagant rifle. Not the precision sniper variant she had trained with, but a serviceable weapon nonetheless. Her assignment was clear: observe, report, and avoid engagement unless absolutely necessary. For 3 weeks, Elena performed her duties with the same meticulous precision she had demonstrated during sniper training. She established observation posts in abandoned buildings and carefully camouflaged positions that provided excellent overwatch of German supply routes and forward positions. Her reports were detailed and accurate, providing valuable intelligence that helped Soviet artillery target enemy installations and supply convoys with devastating effectiveness. But Elena's true talents remained hidden, like a sword sheathed in a simple scabbard. During quiet moments between reconnaissance missions, she would practice with her standard rifle, making subtle adjustments to the trigger mechanism and scope to improve its accuracy. She memorized wind patterns in her sector, calculated firing solutions for dozens of potential targets, and maintained the razor-sharp mental focus that separated true snipers from ordinary marksmen. The other members of her unit gradually came to respect Elena's professionalism and competence, though they remained largely unaware of her suppressed capabilities. Sergeant Viktor Sokolov, a veteran scout with over 2 years of frontline experience, became something of a mentor to Elena, sharing survival techniques and fieldcraft that hadn't been covered in her formal training. The key to staying alive out here, Victor would tell her during their long watches, is to be invisible, patient, and deadly when the moment demands it. Elena absorbed every lesson, every piece of tactical wisdom, storing it away for the moment when her true skills would finally be needed. That moment came on a gray morning in late October when the autumn mist hung over the battlefield like a burial shroud, and 8 German soldiers made the fatal mistake of underestimating the young woman who had been watching them for 3 days. The German patrol had established a forward observation post in a bombed-out farmhouse, roughly 800 meters from Elena's position. For 72 hours, she had observed their routines, noting their patrol schedules, their communication protocols, and most importantly, their blind spots. They were confident, perhaps overconfident in their security. They had no idea that every movement, every gesture, Every moment of vulnerability had been cataloged by eyes that missed nothing. Major Petrov had planned a night raid to eliminate the observation post, but German reinforcements had arrived unexpectedly, making the planned assault too risky. The enemy position would have to be neutralized through other means, or Soviet forces would lose the element of surprise in a larger offensive operation scheduled for the following week. The stakes were high. Hundreds of Soviet lives depended on eliminating this German outpost before it could report on the massive troop buildup happening behind Soviet lines. Elena volunteered for what she described as an enhanced reconnaissance mission, though both she and Major Petrov understood the real nature of what she was proposing. She would not be observing or reporting. She would be eliminating targets with a precision and lethality for which she had been trained. Petrov's approval came not through official channels, but through a simple nod of understanding between warriors who recognized the necessity of the moment. That evening, as darkness settled over the battlefield like a familiar friend, Elena made her preparations with the ritual precision of a master craftsman. She cleaned her rifle until every component gleamed, checked and rechecked her ammunition, and reviewed her firing solutions one final time. The standard issue Mosin Nagant in her hands had been transformed, through careful adjustment and intimate familiarity, into an instrument capable of surgical precision at extreme range. Her camouflage was perfect, mud and vegetation carefully applied to break up her human silhouette, her position chosen to take advantage of natural shadows and concealment. She had moved into position during the pre-dawn hours, when human vision was at its weakest, and the German sentries were focused more on staying warm than maintaining perfect vigilance. As the sun rose on what would become a day of reckoning, Elena settled into the meditative state that all great snipers must achieve, a fusion of absolute concentration and perfect calm where heartbeat slows, breathing becomes controlled, and the entire world narrows to the precise relationship between crosshairs and target. She had 8 shots to make, 8 lives to take, and 8 opportunities to prove that the review board had made the greatest mistake of their military careers. The first German soldier appeared in her scope at exactly 8:47 hours, beginning his routine patrol around the perimeter of the farmhouse. Elena's crosshairs settled on center mass. Her breathing stopped, and her finger began the smooth, steady pressure on the trigger that would announce to the world that a true sniper had finally come to war.
The first shot rang out across the misty battlefield at precisely 8:47 hours, a sound that would echo through military history as the beginning of one of the most extraordinary displays of marksmanship ever recorded in combat. The German soldier, a young private who had been writing a letter to his sweetheart back in Bavaria just moments before, dropped instantly, killed by a bullet that had traveled 800 meters to find its target with surgical precision. Elena worked the bolt of her Mosin Nagant with fluid efficiency, chambering the second round while maintaining perfect sight alignment on the farmhouse. Her training had taught her that the moments immediately following first contact were critical. Confusion and panic would create opportunities, but only for a sniper disciplined enough to exploit them without haste or emotion. The remaining 7 German soldiers reacted exactly as Elena had predicted during her 3 days of observation. Sergeant Hans Müller, the patrol leader, immediately ordered his men to take defensive positions while he attempted to locate the source of the gunfire. This predictable response played directly into Elena's tactical plan. She had carefully studied each man's behavior patterns and knew exactly where they would seek cover. The second shot came 18 seconds after the first, finding Corporal Friedrich Weber as he dove behind what he believed was protective cover near the farmhouse's eastern wall. Elena's bullet penetrated the thin wooden barrier as if it were paper, striking Weber in the chest and ending his war permanently. The mathematical precision required for this shot, calculating bullet trajectory, penetration power, and target movement, demonstrated the exceptional skill that the review board had so foolishly dismissed.
By now, the surviving Germans understood they were facing a sniper of exceptional capability, but their tactical options were severely limited. The farmhouse provided some protection, but Elena had positioned herself to minimize their defensive advantages while maximizing her own fields of fire. Her grandfather's lessons about patience and positioning were proving invaluable as she systematically eliminated targets that had nowhere to run. The third victim was Private Klaus Hoffmann, who made the fatal mistake of exposing himself while attempting to return fire in Elena's general direction. His shots went wide, fired hastily without proper aim or understanding of her actual position. Elena's response was immediate and lethal, another perfect shot that demonstrated why precision always defeats volume of fire in sniper warfare. Sergeant Mueller, recognizing the hopelessness of their situation, attempted to rally his remaining 4 men for a coordinated withdrawal to more defensible positions. This decision sealed their fate, as movement in the open terrain surrounding the farmhouse played directly to Elena's strengths. She had spent hours calculating firing solutions for every possible escape route, turning the entire area into a carefully prepared killing field. The fourth German soldier eliminated Private Otto Brenner as he attempted to provide covering fire for his comrade's retreat. Elena's bullet struck him precisely in the center of mass, dropping him instantly and leaving the remaining Germans without suppressive fire to mask their movements. The psychological impact of losing half their patrol to an invisible enemy was beginning to show in the increasingly desperate behavior of the survivors. Lieutenant Heinrich Kruger, the youngest officer in the patrol, tried to take command after Sergeant Mueller was killed by Elena's fifth shot, a particularly challenging engagement that required her to lead a running target across broken terrain. The mathematical precision of this shot, accounting for target speed, direction, and the complex ballistics of long-range shooting, showcased skills that few snipers could equal even under ideal conditions. The sixth German soldier fell victim to his own panic, breaking cover prematurely in a desperate attempt to reach what he believed was protective cover. Elena's sixth shot was perhaps her most impressive from a technical standpoint, as she successfully engaged a target moving at an angle across her field of view while accounting for the increased wind speed that had developed as the morning progressed. As the seventh shot found its mark, eliminating Corporal Wilhelm Becker, who had been attempting to signal for reinforcements, Elena felt the familiar calm that came with perfect execution of a complex tactical plan. Each shot had been a masterpiece of precision shooting, but more than that, they represented the culmination of months of training and preparation that had been dismissed by men who understood neither her capabilities nor the true nature of modern warfare. The eighth and final shot was reserved for Private Ernst Schaefer, the patrol's radio operator, who had been desperately trying to establish communication with his headquarters to report the devastating attack. Elena's crosshairs settled on her target with the same mechanical precision that had characterized every previous engagement. Her breathing stopped, her heartbeat slowed, and her finger applied the final few ounces of pressure that would complete one of the most remarkable shooting exhibitions in military history. The sound of the eighth shot faded across the battlefield, leaving behind a silence that seemed to stretch beyond the physical realm into something approaching the metaphysical. In less than 12 minutes, Elena had eliminated an entire German patrol with 8 perfect shots, each one a testament to skill, training, and determination that had been criminally underestimated by her own command structure. As she began the careful process of withdrawing from her position, she allowed herself a moment of grim satisfaction. The sniper badge that had been denied to her was meaningless compared to the demonstration she had just provided. She had proven beyond any doubt that excellence in warfare was determined not by gender or prejudice, but by skill, courage, and the willingness to do what was necessary when the moment demanded action.
The aftermath of Elena's extraordinary shooting performance rippled through the Soviet command structure like shockwaves from an artillery barrage. Word of the 8 perfect kills spread rapidly through the ranks, carried by soldiers who had witnessed the precision elimination of an entire German patrol by a single marksman. But what made the story truly remarkable was not just the technical excellence of the shooting, but the identity of the shooter, who had been deemed unsuitable for sniper duties just weeks earlier. Major Petrov was the first to grasp the full implications of what had occurred. When Elena returned from her mission and delivered her after-action report with characteristic professionalism,
He found himself face to face with evidence that the military's personnel evaluation system had failed catastrophically. The young woman standing before him had just accomplished something that would challenge even the most experienced snipers. Yet she had been relegated to reconnaissance duties because a review board had doubted her capabilities based on gender rather than demonstrated skill. The tactical intelligence gathered from the eliminated German position proved invaluable for the upcoming Soviet offensive. Elena's precise shooting had not only removed a critical enemy observation post, but had also created an opportunity for Soviet forces to advance their positions significantly without detection. The strategic value of her actions extended far beyond the 8 enemy casualties. She had potentially saved hundreds of Soviet lives by ensuring the success of the larger operation. News of the achievement reached regimental headquarters within hours, carried by field reports that struggled to convey the full significance of what had transpired. Colonel Kozlov, the same officer who had denied Elena her sniper badge, found himself reading and rereading the combat reports with a mixture of disbelief and growing recognition of his terrible mistake. The woman he had dismissed as unsuitable for sniper duties had just delivered a masterclass in precision shooting that would be studied in military academies for generations. Elena herself seemed remarkably unaffected by the attention her actions were generating. She continued performing her assigned reconnaissance duties with the same meticulous professionalism that had characterized her service from the beginning. As if eliminating an entire enemy patrol with perfect accuracy was simply another routine mission. This emotional equilibrium, this ability to compartmentalize the psychological impact of killing, demonstrated the exact kind of temperament that Colonel Kozlov had claimed she lacked. The reaction among Elena's fellow soldiers was complex and varied. Some viewed her with newfound respect and admiration, recognizing her as a warrior whose skills transcended conventional expectations. Others struggled to reconcile their preconceived notions about women in combat with the undeniable evidence of her lethal effectiveness. The 8 perfect shots had shattered more than German lives. They had destroyed comfortable assumptions about gender roles in warfare that many had never questioned. Sergeant Sokolov, who had mentored Elena during her early weeks with the reconnaissance unit, felt a mixture of pride and humility as he reflected on her achievement. He had recognized her potential from the beginning, but even he had not fully grasped the extent of her capabilities. He said, "I knew she was special, but what she did out there, that was something beyond special. That was pure artistry." The psychological impact on German forces in the sector was immediate and profound. The complete disappearance of an entire patrol, eliminated with surgical precision by an unseen enemy, created an atmosphere of paranoia and fear that extended far beyond the immediate tactical situation. German commanders found themselves questioning the security of positions they had previously considered safe, implementing additional security measures that diverted resources from offensive operations. Soviet propaganda officers, always quick to recognize opportunities for morale-building stories, began crafting narratives around Elena's achievement. However, they faced a delicate challenge: how to celebrate the extraordinary marksmanship of a female soldier without highlighting the military's initial failure to recognize her abilities. The story required careful shaping to inspire without embarrassing the command structure that had made such obvious errors in judgment. Elena's technical analysis of her own shooting performance revealed insights that would prove valuable for future sniper operations. She had methodically recorded environmental conditions, target behavior patterns, and ballistic calculations for each shot, creating a detailed case study in precision marksmanship. Her notes demonstrated not only exceptional shooting skills, but also the analytical intelligence necessary to maximize effectiveness in complex combat situations. The weapons technicians who examined Elena's rifle after the mission were astounded by the modifications she had made to improve its accuracy. Using only basic tools and intimate knowledge of ballistics, she had transformed a standard-issue weapon into a precision instrument capable of extraordinary performance. These modifications, born from practical experience and theoretical understanding, represented innovations that could benefit the entire sniper program. As word of Elena's achievements spread beyond her immediate unit, requests began arriving from other commanders who wanted her transferred to their sectors. The woman who had been considered unsuitable for sniper duties was suddenly in high demand, with officers competing to secure her services for their most challenging missions. The irony was not lost on anyone familiar with her earlier treatment by the review board. Elena's personal reaction to this sudden reversal of fortune was characteristically understated. She had never sought recognition or vindication. She had simply wanted the opportunity to use her skills effectively against the enemy. The 8 perfect shots had provided that opportunity, and the results spoke louder than any protest or argument she could have made to the review board. Sometimes, Elena reflected, actions truly did speak louder than words, especially when those actions involved surgical precision at 800 meters range. The reverberations of Elena's 8 perfect shots reached the highest levels of Soviet military command within 72 hours, carried upward through the chain of command by reports that grew more detailed and incredulous with each retelling. General Vasily Zhukov, commander of the Western Front, found himself reviewing combat reports that read more like fiction than military documentation. An entire German patrol eliminated by a single marksman with perfect accuracy? It was the kind of achievement that belonged in propaganda films, not battlefield reality. What made the situation even more extraordinary was the identity of the marksman responsible. Elena Volkov, a 21-year-old woman who had been denied sniper certification just weeks earlier, had accomplished something that veteran snipers would consider a career-defining achievement. The disconnect between her treatment by the review board and her demonstrated capabilities represented a systemic failure that demanded immediate correction. Elena's technical debriefing, conducted by senior marksmanship instructors from the sniper school, revealed levels of skill and knowledge that exceeded even their most optimistic expectations. Her understanding of advanced ballistics, environmental factors, and target psychology demonstrated mastery that typically required years of combat experience to develop. The instructors found themselves taking notes on techniques and insights that could improve their own training programs. Preparing and narrating the story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now, back to the story. The political implications of Elena's achievement extended far beyond military circles. Soviet leadership had been promoting the narrative of gender equality in the war effort, showcasing women's contributions to the fight against fascism. Elena's story provided perfect ammunition for this propaganda campaign, a young woman overcoming institutional bias to deliver devastating blows against the enemy. However, the story also highlighted uncomfortable questions about the military's evaluation processes and the potential waste of human resources. Colonel Kozlov found himself in an increasingly uncomfortable position as details of Elena's background became widely known throughout the command structure. His decision to deny her sniper certification, once seemingly reasonable and prudent, now appeared short-sighted and prejudiced in light of her extraordinary performance. The 8 perfect shots had not only eliminated enemy soldiers, they had also eliminated his credibility as a judge of military talent. Elena's fellow reconnaissance unit members watched with fascination as their quiet, professional colleague became something of a celebrity within military circles. Officers who had never paid attention to their unit were suddenly interested in every detail of Elena's service record, her training background, and her potential for future operations. The transformation from overlooked soldier to sought-after specialist happened with bewildering speed. The German High Command, meanwhile, was conducting its own investigation into the complete loss of the observation patrol. Intelligence reports suggested the work of an exceptionally skilled sniper, possibly a Soviet specialist brought in specifically to eliminate key positions. The idea that their trained soldiers had been eliminated by a woman who had been denied official sniper status would have been inconceivable to officers who shared similar prejudices about women's capabilities in combat. Elena's personal response to her newfound fame remained characteristically modest and professional. She continued performing her assigned duties while patiently answering questions from visiting officers, training instructors, and military journalists. Her calm demeanor under pressure impressed everyone who met her, further confirming that the review board had grievously misjudged both her technical skills and psychological suitability for sniper operations. The modifications Elena had made to her standard rifle became subjects of intense study by weapons specialists who were amazed by her ingenuity and technical knowledge. Using only basic tools and spare parts, she had improved the weapon's accuracy by margins that surprised even experienced gunsmiths. Her innovations were quickly incorporated into official modification protocols for sniper weapons, ensuring that future marksmen would benefit from her insights. Soviet sniper schools began incorporating Elena's shooting sequence into their advanced training curricula as an example of perfect tactical execution. Students studied her positioning, timing, and target selection as master classes in sniper warfare. The 8 shots became a benchmark for excellence that few students would ever match, but all would strive to emulate. The psychological warfare value of Elena's achievement was quickly recognized by Soviet intelligence services, who began crafting narratives designed to demoralize German forces. Stories of the mysterious female sniper who could eliminate entire patrols with supernatural accuracy spread through prisoner interrogations and captured communications, creating an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty among enemy troops. Elena's original sniper training class followed her story with intense interest and varying emotions. Some felt vindicated in their belief that she had been the most skilled member of their group, while others struggled with the implications of her success for their own careers. The woman they had trained alongside was becoming a legend, while they remained in standard sniper assignments. A reminder that talent and opportunity don't always align perfectly in military service. The farmhouse where Elena's targets had made their final stand became something of a pilgrimage site for Soviet soldiers passing through the sector. The 8 impact points where her bullets had found their marks were studied and analyzed by marksmen, hoping to understand the technical mastery behind such precise shooting. The location served as a physical monument to the power of skill over prejudice, excellence over assumption. As Elena continued her service, now with proper recognition of her capabilities, she began to understand that her 8 perfect shots had accomplished far more than eliminating enemy soldiers. They had shattered barriers, challenged assumptions, and opened doors not just for herself, but potentially for countless other women whose abilities had been underestimated or dismissed. The shots had been fired in anger at enemy targets, but their impact would be felt throughout the Soviet military system for years to come.
3 weeks after her remarkable shooting exhibition, Elena finally stood before another review board, but the atmosphere in this room was entirely different from her previous experience. The same Colonel Kozlov who had denied her sniper badge sat at the head of the table, but his demeanor had transformed from skeptical authority to uncomfortable acknowledgement of past mistakes. The 8 perfect shots had rewritten not just Elena's military record, but the entire conversation about women's roles in specialized combat positions. The formal review of Elena's case had been ordered by General Zhukov himself, who had taken personal interest in a situation that highlighted significant flaws in the military's personnel evaluation system. The general's directive was clear and unambiguous: determine how such exceptional talent had been overlooked and ensure that similar mistakes would not occur in the future. Elena's individual case had become a catalyst for broader institutional reform. Colonel Kozlov opened the proceedings with words that must have tasted like ashes in his mouth. "Comrade Volkov, your recent actions in combat have demonstrated capabilities that,
were not fully appreciated during your initial evaluation. The understatement was so profound that it bordered on comedy, but Elena maintained her military bearing and allowed him to continue his carefully rehearsed admission of error. The evidence presented to the board was overwhelming and irrefutable. Elena's shooting performance had been witnessed by multiple soldiers, confirmed by battlefield reconnaissance, and documented through detailed after-action reports. 8 enemy soldiers eliminated with 8 shots at ranges exceeding 800 meters, under combat conditions that would challenge even veteran snipers. The mathematical precision required for such shooting was beyond dispute. More importantly, Elena's comprehensive analysis of her own performance revealed a level of tactical sophistication that surprised even experienced officers. She had not simply gotten lucky with exceptional shooting. She had planned and executed a complex tactical operation that demonstrated mastery of advanced sniper techniques. Her ability to analyze and explain her methods proved that her skills were based on deep understanding rather than mere instinct. The board members found themselves in the awkward position of evaluating a soldier whose combat performance had already rendered their judgment irrelevant. Elena had proven her worth in the most definitive way possible, through successful completion of a mission that exceeded the capabilities of most officially certified snipers. Their task was not to determine her qualifications, but to acknowledge what had already been demonstrated beyond doubt. Elena's testimony during the review was a masterpiece of professional presentation. She explained her tactical planning process, detailed her technical calculations, and analyzed her shooting performance with the clinical precision of a military instructor. Her calm professionalism contrasted sharply with the visible discomfort of board members who were confronting the magnitude of their previous error. The technical aspects of Elena's achievement continued to impress weapons specialists who had examined every detail of her performance. The environmental conditions during her shooting sequence had been challenging, with variable wind patterns and limited visibility that would have degraded most marksmen's accuracy significantly. Her ability to account for these factors and maintain perfect precision demonstrated mastery that typically required years of combat experience to develop. Elena's psychological evaluation, conducted as part of the review process, revealed the temperament that Colonel Kozlov had claimed she lacked during her initial assessment. Military psychologists found her to be exceptionally stable, focused, and capable of maintaining emotional equilibrium under extreme stress. Her ability to eliminate human targets without apparent psychological trauma demonstrated the exact kind of mental resilience required for sniper operations. The broader implications of Elena's case were beginning to influence policy discussions at the highest levels of Soviet military command. Her story provided compelling evidence that gender-based assumptions about combat roles were not only unfair but potentially counterproductive. The military could not afford to waste human resources based on prejudice when the nation's survival depended on maximizing every advantage against a formidable enemy. Soviet propaganda services were already crafting Elena's story into a powerful narrative about overcoming obstacles and proving daughters wrong through exceptional performance. The 8 perfect shots were becoming symbols of determination and excellence that transcended their immediate tactical significance. Elena's fellow soldiers watched the proceedings with intense interest, understanding that the outcome would influence their own careers and opportunities. The precedent being established through her case would either open doors or reinforce barriers for future generations of women seeking specialized combat roles. The stakes extended far beyond one individual's career advancement. The German intelligence services, meanwhile, were conducting their own analysis of the devastating attack that had eliminated their observation post. Their investigation had identified the work of an exceptionally skilled sniper, but they remained unaware that their soldiers had been eliminated by a woman who had been considered unsuitable for such duties by her own military. The irony would have been crushing to German officers who shared similar prejudices about women's combat capabilities. Elena's transformation from overlooked soldier to celebrated marksman was complete by the time Colonel Kozlov finally spoke the words that should have been spoken months earlier. "Comrade Volkov, based on your demonstrated capabilities in combat, this board unanimously recommends you for immediate certification as a sniper specialist with all attendant privileges and responsibilities." The sniper badge that had been denied to her was finally within reach, though its symbolic importance paled compared to the real badge of honor she had earned through 8 perfect shots in actual combat. As Elena accepted the board's recommendation with her characteristic grace and professionalism, she understood that her journey was far from over. The 8 shots had opened a door, but walking through it would require continued excellence and dedication that exceeded even the extraordinary standards she had already established.
With her official sniper certification finally secured, Elena found herself thrust into a completely different world of military service. No longer relegated to reconnaissance duties, she was assigned to the elite 1st Guards Rifle Regiment, a unit known for its exceptional marksmen and dangerous assignments behind enemy lines. Her new commanding officer, Major Elena Volkov, no relation despite the shared surname, was a legendary figure in Soviet sniper circles, credited with over 200 confirmed kills during his 3 years of combat service. Major Volkov had specifically requested Elena's transfer after reading detailed reports of her 8 perfect shots, recognizing in her performance the kind of exceptional talent that could be developed into truly extraordinary capabilities. Unlike the review board that had initially dismissed her, Volkov understood that great snipers were not created through prejudice or assumption, but identified through demonstrated skill under the most challenging conditions possible. Elena's integration into the elite unit presented new challenges that went beyond the technical aspects of marksmanship. Her fellow snipers were all veteran soldiers with extensive combat experience, men who had survived years of warfare through a combination of skill, luck, and intimate knowledge of their deadly profession. They watched Elena with curiosity and skepticism, wondering whether her celebrated achievement had been exceptional performance or fortunate circumstance. The hazing that Elena endured during her first weeks with the unit was subtle but persistent, designed to test her psychological resilience and determine whether she truly belonged among the elite marksmen. Senior snipers assigned her the most dangerous observation posts, the longest watches, and the most challenging shooting positions, waiting to see if she would crack under pressure or prove herself worthy of their respect. Elena's response to these challenges was characteristically professional and determined. She accepted every assignment without complaint, performed every task with meticulous attention to detail, and gradually won over her skeptical comrades through consistent demonstration of exceptional skill and unshakable composure. Her technical knowledge impressed even veteran snipers who had forgotten more about marksmanship than most soldiers ever learned. The unit's first major assignment with Elena came during the Battle of Kursk, one of the largest tank battles in human history. Soviet intelligence had identified a German command post located in a fortified position approximately 1,200 meters behind enemy lines, where Wehrmacht officers were coordinating tank movements that threatened to break through Soviet defenses. The mission was clear, but extraordinarily dangerous. Eliminate the German commanders before they could complete their tactical coordination. Major Volkov selected Elena for the mission not as a test of her abilities, but because her demonstrated precision made her the most qualified sniper for such a critical target. The shot would need to be perfect. There would be no opportunity for correction or follow-up attempts. The German position was heavily defended, and any missed shot would result in immediate retaliation that would likely prove fatal for the sniper responsible. Elena spent 48 hours preparing for the mission, with the same methodical approach that had characterized her 8 perfect shots. She studied aerial reconnaissance photographs of the target area, calculated ballistic solutions for multiple environmental scenarios, and rehearsed her shooting position until every movement became automatic. The technical challenges were formidable. The extended range pushed her rifle to its maximum effective distance, and the target would be visible for only brief moments through narrow firing windows. The approach to the shooting position required Elena to infiltrate through German defensive lines during the pre-dawn hours, moving silently through terrain that was heavily patrolled and monitored. Her fieldcraft training served her well as she navigated minefields, avoided sentry posts, and established her shooting position in an abandoned water tower that provided the necessary elevation and concealment for the shot. As dawn broke over the battlefield, Elena settled into the meditative focus that had become her trademark, controlling her breathing and heart rate while maintaining perfect sight alignment on the German command post.
Through her scope, she could observe German officers moving about their duties, unaware that death was watching them from over a kilometer away. The mathematical precision required for this shot exceeded even her previous achievement. Environmental factors were constantly changing, and the target would be exposed for mere seconds. At precisely 0634 hours, Elena's target appeared in her crosshairs, a German colonel whose tactical decisions had cost hundreds of Soviet lives during the previous week's fighting. The shot had to be perfect, not just technically, but tactically and psychologically. This was not just about eliminating an enemy soldier, but about disrupting German command capabilities at a critical moment in the battle. Elena's shot traveled through the morning air with the precision of destiny itself, covering the 1,200 meters to its target in less than 2 seconds. The German colonel dropped instantly, killed by a bullet he never saw coming from a sniper he never knew existed. The psychological impact on the surviving German officers was immediate and devastating. Their secure command post had been penetrated by an invisible enemy who could strike with supernatural accuracy. The successful elimination of the German commander had immediate tactical consequences that rippled throughout the battlefield. Without coordinated leadership, German tank formations lost cohesion, allowing Soviet forces to exploit weaknesses in their defensive lines. Elena's single, perfect shot had potentially altered the outcome of one of the war's most crucial battles, demonstrating the strategic value of exceptional marksmanship in modern warfare. Elena's extraction from the German-held territory proved as challenging as her infiltration, requiring her to evade search parties that were frantically seeking the phantom sniper who had struck at the heart of their command structure. Her escape route took her through 15 kilometers of hostile territory, moving only during periods of limited visibility while German forces scoured the area with increasing desperation.
Elena's successful return from the Kursk mission marked a turning point not just in her military career, but in the broader recognition of women's capabilities in specialized combat roles. The strategic impact of her single, perfect shot had been documented and analyzed by Soviet high command, providing irrefutable evidence that exceptional marksmanship could influence the outcome of major battles. Her achievement transcended gender politics to become a case study in the tactical application of precision shooting. Major Volkov's after-action report described Elena's performance in terms that bordered on the superlative, noting her exceptional fieldcraft, tactical intelligence, and, most importantly, her ability to deliver precise fire under extreme pressure. The 1,200-meter shot that had eliminated the German colonel was acknowledged as one of the longest successful sniper engagements recorded during the war, achieved under conditions that would challenge even the most experienced marksman. The psychological impact of Elena's growing reputation began extending beyond Soviet military circles into German intelligence assessments. Enemy reports increasingly referenced a mysterious sniper whose capabilities seemed to exceed normal human limitations, creating an atmosphere of paranoia among German officers who found themselves questioning the security of positions they had previously considered safe. The legend of the Ghost of Kursk was beginning to take shape in enemy consciousness. Elena's technical innovations continued to influence Soviet sniper doctrine as weapons specialists studied her modifications and shooting techniques. Her approach to long-range ballistics incorporated mathematical calculations that were more sophisticated than standard military training provided, suggesting an intuitive understanding of physics that enhanced her natural marksmanship abilities. These insights were incorporated into advanced training curricula that would benefit future generations of snipers. The unit's next assignment took them to the siege of Leningrad, where German forces had maintained a brutal blockade that was slowly starving the city's population. Elena's mission was to eliminate key German artillery observers who were directing devastating bombardments against civilian targets. The moral imperative of protecting innocent lives added emotional weight to what was already a technically challenging assignment.
The siege environment presented unique challenges for sniper operations. The urban landscape of Leningrad provided excellent concealment opportunities, but also created complex ballistic problems as shots had to navigate through building corridors and around architectural obstacles. Elena spent weeks studying the city's geography, identifying shooting positions that could provide effective fields of fire while maintaining operational security. Elena's first target in Leningrad was a German artillery spotter who had been directing fire against a children's hospital, causing casualties among patients and medical staff who had no military value whatsoever. The pure evil of targeting innocent children transformed Elena's mission from military necessity to moral obligation, adding emotional fuel to her already exceptional technical capabilities. The shot that eliminated the artillery spotter was fired from the bell tower of a damaged cathedral, threading through a narrow window opening at a range of 900 meters. Elena's bullet found its target with the precision that had become her signature, ending the bombardment of the hospital and saving countless innocent lives. The technical difficulty of the shot was exceeded only by its moral significance. German counter-sniper efforts intensified as Elena's reputation grew, with enemy marksmen specifically deployed to hunt the mysterious shooter who was systematically eliminating their forward observers. These cat-and-mouse games tested Elena's fieldcraft and tactical intelligence as much as her marksmanship, requiring her to constantly adapt her methods and positioning to stay ahead of increasingly sophisticated countermeasures. Elena's psychological resilience proved as remarkable as her shooting skills during the grinding months of the Leningrad siege. While other soldiers struggled with the emotional toll of constant combat and civilian suffering, she maintained the mental equilibrium necessary for precision shooting under extreme stress. Her ability to compartmentalize trauma while maintaining peak performance demonstrated the exact temperament that Colonel Kozlov had claimed she lacked. The strategic value of Elena's sniper operations during the siege was quantified through detailed analysis of German artillery effectiveness before and after her interventions. Statistical data showed significant reductions in accurate fire missions following the elimination of key observation personnel, translating to hundreds of civilian lives saved and critical infrastructure preserved. Her individual actions were influencing the broader strategic situation. Elena's growing legend within Soviet military circles led to requests for her services from commanders throughout the Eastern Front. The woman who had been denied a sniper badge was now in such high demand that assignments had to be prioritized based on strategic importance. Her transformation from overlooked soldier to invaluable specialist demonstrated the military's capacity for recognizing and correcting past mistakes. The German High Command's investigation into their mounting sniper casualties eventually identified patterns suggesting the work of a single, exceptionally skilled marksman. Intelligence reports described shooting performances that seemed to exceed human limitations, leading some German officers to speculate about Soviet development of new sniper technologies or techniques. The reality that their soldiers were being eliminated by a woman they would have considered unsuitable for combat would have been incomprehensible to their military mindset. Elena's personal correspondence with her family during this period revealed a young woman who had found her true calling despite institutional obstacles. Her letters described not glory or excitement, but a deep sense of purpose and professional satisfaction in using her exceptional abilities to protect her homeland and its people. The 8 perfect shots that had started her journey had evolved into a campaign of systematic precision that was influencing the war's outcome. As winters settled over Leningrad and the siege continued its brutal course, Elena prepared for what would become her most challenging assignment yet, a mission that would test not just her marksmanship, but her courage, intelligence, and determination in ways that would define the rest of her military service and establish her place in the pantheon of legendary snipers.
The assignment that would test every aspect of Elena's capabilities came through classified channels directly from Stalin's personal staff, carrying the highest possible priority designation and emphasizing the mission's critical importance to the overall war effort. German forces had established a heavily fortified observation post in the Signavino Heights, a strategic position that allowed them to direct artillery fire with devastating accuracy against Soviet supply lines attempting to break the Leningrad blockade. The German position was commanded by Oberst Heinrich Müller, a veteran artillery officer whose tactical expertise had made him one of the most effective battlefield commanders on the Eastern Front. Intelligence reports credited Müller with coordinating bombardments that had destroyed dozens of Soviet supply convoys, directly contributing to the starvation conditions that were claiming thousands of civilian lives in besieged Leningrad. Eliminating him had become a strategic imperative. Elena's mission briefing revealed the full scope of the challenge she faced. Mueller's command post was located in a reinforced bunker complex surrounded by multiple defensive rings, protected by anti-aircraft guns, machine gun nests, and carefully positioned sniper teams. The German position had been designed specifically to be impervious to conventional attack, requiring a precision solution that only exceptional marksmanship could provide. The technical requirements for the shot pushed beyond anything Elena had previously attempted. The target would be visible only briefly during Mueller's daily inspection tours, appearing for perhaps 30 seconds at a range exceeding 1,500 meters through a narrow observation slit in the bunker's reinforced construction. Environmental factors included variable wind conditions caused by the height's exposed position and atmospheric disturbances from ongoing artillery bombardments. Elena's preparation for this mission consumed 3 weeks of intensive planning and reconnaissance. She studied detailed architectural drawings of the German bunker system, memorized Mueller's daily routine through patient observation, and calculated ballistic solutions for every possible shooting scenario. The mathematical complexity of the shot required her to account for bullet drop, wind drift, atmospheric pressure, and target movement simultaneously. The selection of Elena's shooting position required careful analysis of terrain features, sight lines, and escape routes. After extensive reconnaissance, she identified an abandoned factory complex approximately 1,600 meters from the German bunker, offering the necessary elevation and concealment while providing multiple withdrawal options. The position's distance actually exceeded her target range, requiring precise positioning to achieve the 1,500-meter shot. Elena's approach to the shooting position demonstrated fieldcraft skills that rivaled any soldier in the Soviet military. Moving only during periods of limited visibility, she infiltrated through German patrol routes and observation zones, carrying her disassembled rifle and equipment in carefully camouflaged packages. The journey took 18 hours of careful movement through hostile territory where discovery would mean certain death. The shooting position itself required modification to provide the stability necessary for such an extreme long-range shot. Elena spent hours adjusting her rifle rest, calculating sight adjustments, and preparing contingency plans for various environmental scenarios. Every detail had to be perfect. There would be no opportunity for correction if the first shot missed its mark. As dawn approached on the day of the shot, Elena settled into the meditation-like state that had become her hallmark, controlling her physiology while maintaining perfect mental focus on the technical aspects of the engagement. Through her scope, she could observe the German bunker complex in detail, noting defensive positions and movement patterns that would influence her tactical approach. At exactly 0847 hours, the same time as her first perfect shot months earlier, Oberst Müller appeared in Elena's crosshairs, conducting his routine inspection of the forward observation positions. The target was visible for exactly 28 seconds, a narrow window that demanded perfect timing in execution. Elena's breathing stopped, her heartbeat slowed, and her world narrowed to the precise relationship between crosshairs and target. The shot traveled through the cold morning air for nearly 3 seconds, covering 1,500 meters with ballistic precision that bordered on the supernatural. Elena's bullet found its target with devastating accuracy, eliminating one of Germany's most effective battlefield commanders and disrupting the artillery coordination that had been strangling Leningrad's supply lines. The single shot represented the culmination of months of training, preparation, and combat experience. The immediate aftermath of Mueller's elimination created chaos within the German command structure as junior officers struggled to maintain the complex coordination required for effective artillery support. Soviet intelligence monitored German communications as confusion and uncertainty spread through their ranks, confirming the strategic value of Elena's precision strike against enemy leadership. Elena's extraction from the German-held position required her to evade intensified search efforts as enemy forces sought to locate and eliminate the sniper who had struck at their most secure facility. Her escape route took her through 25 kilometers of hostile territory, moving only during periods when German attention was focused on other areas of the battlefield. The successful completion of this mission established Elena as the Soviet Union's premier sniper, a marksman whose capabilities exceeded even the most optimistic assessments of human potential. Her journey from rejected candidate to legendary warrior was complete, but the war continued, and her exceptional skills would be needed for even greater challenges ahead. Soviet High Command's analysis of Elena's achievement focused not just on the technical aspects of her shooting, but on the strategic implications of precision marksmanship in modern warfare. Her ability to eliminate key enemy personnel at extreme ranges demonstrated that individual skill could influence major military operations, validating investment in specialized sniper training and equipment.
The elimination of Oberst Mueller sent shockwaves through the German High Command that extended far beyond the immediate tactical situation around Leningrad. Wehrmacht intelligence services initiated a comprehensive investigation into what they termed the phantom sniper phenomenon, attempting to identify and neutralize a threat that seemed to operate beyond the normal parameters of military engagement. The systematic elimination of key German personnel by an invisible enemy had begun to affect operational planning and troop morale across multiple sectors. Elena's reputation within Soviet military circles had evolved from exceptional marksman to strategic asset, with her assignments now coordinated directly through the highest levels of command. The woman who had been denied a sniper badge based on gender prejudice was now receiving mission briefings that were classified above the security clearance of the officers who had originally rejected her. The irony was not lost on anyone familiar with her journey from overlooked soldier to invaluable specialist. The psychological impact of Elena's growing legend began manifesting in unexpected ways throughout the Soviet military structure. Young women volunteered for sniper training in unprecedented numbers, inspired by stories of the marksmen who had overcome institutional bias through exceptional performance. Elena had become more than a successful sniper. She had become a symbol of what was possible when talent was allowed to flourish regardless of traditional limitations. Soviet propaganda services crafted Elena's story into a powerful narrative about determination, excellence, and the triumph of skill over prejudice. Her journey from rejected candidate to legendary sniper provided perfect material for boosting morale among both military personnel and civilian populations who were struggling through the darkest periods of the war. The 8 perfect shots that had started her transformation became symbols of hope and possibility. German countermeasures against Soviet sniper operations intensified dramatically as Elena's activities continued to eliminate key personnel throughout the Eastern Front. Enemy forces implemented new security protocols, modified their observation procedures, and deployed specialized counter-sniper teams specifically trained to hunt the mysterious marksman who had become known in German intelligence circles as Der Geist, the Ghost. Elena's technical innovations in long-range marksmanship were systematically documented and incorporated into Soviet sniper training curricula, ensuring that her insights would benefit future generations of marksmen. Her mathematical approach to ballistics calculation, her modifications to standard equipment, and her tactical methodologies became standard components of advanced sniper education throughout the Soviet military system. The strategic value of Elena's operations was quantified through detailed analysis that demonstrated the broader impact of precision marksmanship on military effectiveness. Her elimination of key German personnel had disrupted command structures, degraded artillery coordination, and created psychological pressure that influenced enemy operational planning. Individual excellence was proving capable of affecting major military outcomes. Elena's personal evolution during this period reflected the transformation from young woman seeking opportunity to seasoned warrior who had found her true calling. Her correspondence with family members revealed someone who had discovered profound purpose in using exceptional abilities to protect her homeland and its people. The rejection that had initially seemed devastating had ultimately led her to achievements that exceeded her original ambitions. The German investigation into their mounting sniper casualties eventually identified patterns suggesting coordination between multiple Soviet marksmen, never suspecting that many of their most devastating losses were the work of a single exceptional individual. Intelligence reports describe shooting performances that seemed to require technological advantages or supernatural abilities, failing to recognize that they were simply witnessing the pinnacle of human marksmanship capability. Elena's influence on Soviet sniper doctrine extended beyond technical innovations to include tactical and strategic applications of precision shooting. Her demonstrated ability to eliminate high-value targets at extreme ranges proved that individual marksmen could serve as force multipliers, achieving strategic objectives that would otherwise require major military operations. The implications for future warfare were profound and far-reaching. As the war continued its brutal course across the Eastern Front, Elena's assignments became increasingly critical to Soviet military objectives. Her exceptional capabilities made her an irreplaceable asset whose loss would significantly impact operational effectiveness. The woman who had once been considered unsuitable for sniper duties was now protected by security measures typically reserved for general officers and strategic assets. Elena's legacy within the sniper community was already being established through the training of new marksmen who studied her techniques and sought to emulate her achievements. The 8 perfect shots that had announced her arrival as a serious sniper had evolved into a comprehensive body of knowledge that would influence marksmanship training for decades. Her rejection by the original review board had become a cautionary tale about the dangers of institutional prejudice. The broader implications of Elena's story extended beyond military circles into questions about human potential and the importance of providing opportunities for exceptional individuals to demonstrate their capabilities. Her journey from rejected candidate to legendary warrior highlighted systemic problems in evaluation processes while also celebrating the power of determination and excellence to overcome institutional obstacles. As Elena prepared for what would become her final wartime mission, she reflected on the remarkable journey that had transformed her from a young woman seeking recognition to a legendary figure whose achievements would be studied and celebrated long after the war's conclusion. The 8 perfect shots had begun just the beginning of a story that would inspire generations of marksmen and serve as a permanent reminder that excellence has no gender boundaries when given the opportunity to flourish.
Elena's final wartime mission came as Soviet forces pushed toward Berlin in the spring of 1945, when the Third Reich was collapsing but still capable of inflicting devastating casualties on advancing Allied troops. German resistance had become increasingly desperate and fanatical, with enemy forces willing to sacrifice everything to delay the inevitable Soviet victory. In this chaotic environment, precision became more valuable than ever, and Elena's exceptional capabilities were needed for one last critical assignment. The target was SS Oberfuhrer Klaus Weber, a fanatical Nazi commander who had established a fortress position in the ruins of a bombed cathedral outside Berlin. Weber's unit was equipped with advanced anti-tank weapons that were systematically destroying Soviet armor attempting to advance through the sector. Intelligence reports indicated that Weber personally directed the defensive operations, making his elimination a strategic priority for the final push toward the German capital. Elena's approach to this final mission reflected the wisdom and experience she had accumulated through years of combat operations. Unlike her early assignments, where enthusiasm sometimes overcame caution, she now possessed the mature judgment of a veteran warrior who understood both the capabilities and limitations of her deadly profession. Every aspect of the mission was planned with meticulous attention to detail and profound respect for the dangers involved. The shooting position Elena selected demonstrated her evolution as a tactical thinker beyond mere marksmanship excellence. Located in the remains of a bombed factory complex, the position provided multiple fields of fire while offering several escape routes through the rubble-strewn industrial landscape. Her preparations included contingency plans for various scenarios, backup equipment caches, and coordination with supporting elements that could provide extraction assistance if needed.
As Elena settled into her final shooting position of the war, she reflected on the remarkable journey that had brought her to this moment. The 8 perfect shots that had announced her arrival as a serious sniper had evolved into a career that encompassed dozens of successful missions, hundreds of enemy casualties, and strategic impacts that had influenced major military operations. The young woman who had been denied a sniper badge had become one of the most effective marksmen in Soviet military history. The shot that eliminated SS Oberfuhrer Weber was fired at 1,247 meters through the narrow window of his command post, threading between structural debris with ballistic precision that represented the culmination of Elena's technical mastery. The bullet found its target with the same devastating accuracy that had characterized her entire career, ending the resistance of a fanatical enemy and clearing the way for Soviet forces to continue their advance toward Berlin. Weber's elimination had immediate tactical consequences, as German defensive coordination collapsed without his leadership. The advanced anti-tank weapons that had been systematically destroying Soviet armor fell silent as junior officers struggled to maintain the complex defensive schemes their commander had orchestrated. Elena's single, precise shot had effectively neutralized an entire defensive position, demonstrating once again the strategic value of exceptional marksmanship. The war in Europe ended just 6 weeks after Elena's final mission, with Germany's unconditional surrender marking the conclusion of the most devastating conflict in human history. Elena had served with distinction from the siege of Leningrad through the final assault on Berlin, accumulating a combat record that included over 200 confirmed enemy casualties and countless strategic objectives achieved through precision shooting under the most challenging conditions imaginable. Elena's post-war recognition came through multiple channels, as Soviet military leadership finally acknowledged the full scope of her contributions to the war effort. She received the Hero of the Soviet Union Medal, the nation's highest military decoration, along with numerous other awards that recognized both her individual achievements and her broader impact on military effectiveness. The sniper badge that had once been denied to her became just one symbol among many honoring her exceptional service. The institutional changes that Elena's career helped inspire extended throughout the Soviet military system and influenced military thinking worldwide. Her story became a case study in the importance of evaluating personnel based on demonstrated capability rather than preconceived assumptions, leading to policy changes that opened previously closed opportunities for women in specialized combat roles. Elena's technical innovations and tactical insights were incorporated into sniper training programs that would benefit marksmen for generations. Her mathematical approach to long-range ballistics, her equipment modifications, and her tactical methodologies became standard components of advanced marksmanship education in military academies around the world. The 8 perfect shots had evolved into a comprehensive body of knowledge that advanced the entire profession. The psychological impact of Elena's achievements extended far beyond military circles into broader questions about human potential and the importance of providing opportunities for exceptional individuals to demonstrate their capabilities regardless of traditional limitations. Her journey from rejected candidate to legendary warrior became an inspiration for countless people who faced institutional barriers based on prejudice rather than objective assessment. Elena's legacy within the sniper community was permanently established through the training programs, technical innovations, and tactical doctrines that bore her influence. Future marksmen would study her techniques, emulate her achievements, and benefit from the institutional changes her career had inspired. The woman who had been told she lacked the temperament for sniper operations had redefined what exceptional marksmanship could accomplish in modern warfare. As Elena returned to civilian life after the war's conclusion, she carried with her the satisfaction of having proven that excellence transcends all artificial barriers when given the opportunity to flourish. The 8 perfect shots that had started her transformation from overlooked soldier to legendary sniper had become the foundation for achievements that would be remembered and celebrated long after the last echoes of war had faded into history.
Elena Volkov's story stands as a permanent reminder that human potential cannot be measured by prejudice or assumption, but only through the opportunity to demonstrate what exceptional individuals can accomplish when their talents are recognized and properly developed. Her 8 perfect shots had shattered more than enemy lives. They had destroyed comfortable assumptions about limitation and possibility, opening doors that would never again be closed to those with the skill and determination to walk through them. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.